DrivingMaul. Hi, I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, your best play trade predictions and opinion. And joining me this evening to go through the games. Well, it's not his evening, it's his morning. So, good morning, Herman. How are you doing, sir?
Good evening, Paul. I'm doing just fine.
Is that a CCCP? Is that an old Soviet Union?
That's correct. Correct.
Football.
Good eyes.
Adidas thing?
It's actually like an official Adidas one for like the 1983 track and field.
Track and field. Wow. Oh, dearie me. Also, yeah. Well, there you go. So, yes, we're not just a rugby. Yes, we are. Okay, we're not going to talk cricket. We're not going to talk track and field. So this weekend, the Rugby Championship kicks off. You want to have a preview of the whole thing? Click back and go check out the Hash Rugby Chat, where we were looking at the Rugby Championship as a whole. But hey, Unbiased Rugby, great to see you on the live chat. But today we're going to go through the two games. So the first game, those two games are clearly the Springboks versus the Wallabies, or South Africa versus Australia, and the Pumas versus the All Blacks, or Argentina versus New Zealand. So let's kick off then with the Springboks versus the Wallabies. I mean, it's great to have all the teams named in advance, which is nice to have it available for this show. But looking at the Springboks 23, I know that somebody's, I think, stuff titled this as being the Springboks possibles versus the Wallabies probables. Is that a tad harsh, do you think, or is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, no, I think it's pretty fair. But I mean, Springboks don't have too many like standouts that own their jersey really. So it's a fair few in this Springboks probables that can make big claims that they should be in the startings there. You
kind of say that, but okay. So here's some of the names that are missing. Kitshoff, Marks, Malherbe, Simon, Mostert, Khaleesi, Quagga-Smith, Vermeulen, de Klerk. Hang on, I'm not finished yet. Pollard, Dante, Delande, Am, Colby, and Willie LaRue. Sorry?
Paul, is it not better we focus on the players that are actually going to play?
No, we will do that in a second.
Because there are a fair few in here who can like make good claims to be in the starting.
But I'm just saying, if you look at the teams, if we look at the players who played against, say, the All Blacks so thank you, Simon Howard, for his tweet on this. But all those players I mentioned played for the Springboks when they beat New Zealand, beat the All Blacks in Wellington last year. So gives you an idea. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 players out of the 23 that beat the All Blacks last year aren't playing here, which, if you think this is a strong squad we're about to go through for this team, that says we have some serious depth for this Springboks side heading towards Rugby World Cup, right?
Well, but hear me out a little bit. Like, yeah, we got the beast, maybe not at its prime, but still very, very good. You got Etzebeth, Lou de Jager, Peter Step-Letois is still in there.
Well, we'll run through the the whole team. So yes, so at one beast, Mbambi at 2, Nyanke at 3, Eben Etzebeth, Lou de Jager are in the engine room. Elstad, Steph de Toit and Francois Lowe in the Lucy's. Unbiased Rugby says he likes the Bok team, and hey, he's an expert on this whole South Africa thing, being a YouTuber from there. So check out Unbiased Rugby YouTube channel as well. But Herschel Yanchis and Elson Yanchis are the halfback pairing. Mapimpi on one wing is Nkosi Gallant at the back three with Esterhuizen and Jesse Creel there in the centres. A few players that haven't played very much. So people like Jesse Creel, Eben Etzebeth coming back from injury, and that's why they've been picked in this kind of side, isn't it?
Yeah, that's probably fair. But I think the South African depth at lock is ridiculous. They really have 4 world class. It really doesn't matter who they play. They always can have good guys on the park.
So as you say, you've got the beast, you've got Etzebeth, you've got Elson Yankees, who arguably has been the number one choice fly half. You've got Jesse Creel, who's been playing really well as well. Glantz, who's playing really well. So yes, there are some class players in here, but you got to. We remember here.
And was it Peter Step-Letois the man of a match when I beat New Zealand last year away?
Very possibly. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think he was.
So what we are seeing here is the depth that the Springboks have. They've got the players. It really is a matter of getting the right game plan going, and all the players pulling in the same direction, isn't it?
Yes, and I think I don't think we should expect like too high skill rugby from neither side here, because it's going to be a lot of rust in that series. There's not a lot of settled combinations in this team or any other team for that matter.
Sure,
except one, of course.
Yeah, and Herschel Jansch's, I think this is from memory, because I haven't got the caps in front of me, but I think this is his debut, isn't it, at 9. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he runs the show, because let's be honest, Elton Jansch's not the most settled, calming fly half in World Rugby, is he?
Correct.
So a quick look at the bench. Unbiased Rugby says he really likes this bench. So you got Schalk Brits, a guy, I mean, he's in his 50s, great player, lots of experience there. How do you say this? Because sorry, but in English there's always a U after a Q. Gabuka. Vincent Koch are your front row replacements. Marvin Ori is there for the locks. Marcel Coetzee for the loosies. And then some really interesting ones here in the halfback replacements. Corbus Reinach playing for Northampton Saints, sorry, in the Premiership. Really been showing up there. And we're going to have some interesting Premiership players coming in a couple of games, actually, in this game. So you got him opposite. We're going to have Nick White as well. So some Premiership scrum halves being involved in this game.
Yeah, how fitting, we can sell this game to the English market too, eh? But it's right.
And it's in the right time zone. Francois Stein, somebody that we think as being must be in his mid-30s, early 40s, but actually he's not that old. He is still in his early 30s. He's just been around for so long and been playing in France for so long as well. So interesting to see him back. And then if we're talking about a pure an out footballer, rather than a guy who relies on pace or trickery or anything, and that's Dylan Lades in there. He's a guy that's a real thinking player, one that I've been very impressed with over the last season or two. So yeah, there's with Stein and Schalk Brits there on the bench, lots of experience to come off the bench, and showing that we do have the Springboks. One thing they do have is definitely depth, as I've been saying. At altitude, though, how do you expect them to play? Are we going to see a South African pin in the Wallabies back and then let the forwards go to work? Kicking style game, you think? Or are we actually going to get to see...
They're going to kick a lot. They're going to kick a lot. And I think we're going to kick a lot of wide kicks too, but maybe we should wait until that a little bit, because the Aussie selection, I think the tactics South Africa as Springboks going to use going to be pretty obvious when you see how Australia...
But I mean,
you see Australian lineup.
It's a travesty not getting the ball out wide to people like Mpimpi, Nkosi. There's some real skill out wide there, unfortunately, isn't there?
Exactly. While the Wallabies will have Reece Hodge and Dane Helat-Petty out wide, they're going to be chances out to Burnman.
It's a contrast of styles, isn't it? And you're not going to want to kick to either of those. Both those guys can play fullbacks. Both those guys absolutely solid under the high ball for the Wallabies. In fact, the Wallabies have got a very, very much, three fullbacks in their back three, no wingers really. So you've got to say that the Springboks really should be using their pace and their footwork out wide against those players, because they really could do them some damage there.
Yes, that's a huge gap when it comes to speed there.
So a lot of people have been calling this to say the possibles against the Wallabies probables. And by yes, Australia will be desperate for the win. They are. I mean, they're coming into this off the back of some really poor press and media about them. The obviously had the Flower affair as well, so he's not there. It's really interesting to see who has been given that 15 jersey for the first run out here. But let's quickly run through the starting 15 then. So James Slipper, Folau Vaenga. Now that's the only reason I don't block the word Folau in my Twitter feed, because I'd lose him. It's a killer, that is. It's Kopi Kepu, 87 86 tests on one prop, 103 on another prop, and that's some experience in that front row.
So that was is in safe hands there.
He's in safe hands, exactly. Isaac Roeder and Rory Arnold. And Rory Arnold's been in some fantastic form. His ability to disrupt a driving maul is really kind of impressive.
Yeah. He's got to have the longest arms in Super Rugby, surely.
And then a kind of a really interesting loose trio. Salakai Lotto, Hooper, and Nizarani. I was hoping to see Valentino in this. It's Hooper, obviously the captain, 91 tests, but those other two, Nizarani is only disqualified for the for the Wallabies, and that's why he's straight into the side. Not a surprise, really.
No, but I think you can see an interesting here. This is a lot more mobile pack, especially back row, than the Springboks have. Hooper, Nizarani, and Lotto.
So if you compare that to the Springboks, who have they got?
Springbok, yeah.
Elstad, Steph Toy, Francois Lowe. Now Francois Lowe in that 8 jersey, he's normally a 7, or loose or open side, shall I say, for Bath. So it's interesting to see that the combination they've gone with there for the Springboks. It's going to be fun to see how that kind of works out.
Mm-hmm.
Nick White we mentioned with Bernard Foley. So 4 years gap since Nick White's got one of his 22 test caps. Obviously he has to return to Australia to be eligible, which is going to be kind of interesting. Samu Karevi and Savita Kurindrani. Oh boy, it's the Bass brothers. I mean, there is some size there, isn't there?
Yep. You like it?
Yes and no. I like both those players, but when they tried this combination against England 2 years ago, it really didn't work. Was it 2 years ago or 3 years ago now? It really didn't work then. But I think Karevi has matured much more into that 12 jersey. As much more a distributor than he used to be. He used to be a 13 now 13 because the balls wouldn't go past him. Apart from an offload. So I think he's rounded his game a lot more in that 12 jersey. So I think it's very different than what we saw in 2016 against England. And then the back three, as you mentioned, Hodge, Dane Helopetty on the wings, and the really interesting one, Tom Banks at 15. What do you think of that?
Super interesting to see. I mean, there's been chat about Tom Banks should be giving a start in the Wallabies for well over a year now, I think. So it's gonna, I think he earned his right to have his start. So I'm super pumped for him to see him getting this chance to see. I think it's a very brave decision. I would have had Dane Helopetty back there personally, and someone else on the wing. I think Dane Helopetty is a wonderful fullback, a wonderful footballer. Very happy to see Tom Banks back there and given the opportunity. But as we say, Hodge, Dane Helopetty, with two guys on the wings. If you get an overlap in your own half and you go give it to the speedster out wide, what speedster? I mean, we're gonna have to see how it goes. Yeah. And as we mentioned before, it's like even if South Africa pick their second selection, there's one thing we sure doesn't lose is any speed out wide. They have it in bundles.
They do have it in absolute bundles. We talked about the experience that they have in the front row in the starting 15, not there on the bench. Ulesi, 2 caps, is the replacement hooker. Johnson Holmes and Tupu are the two there. Johnson Holmes, this is his debut. Tanalea Tupu, only 11 tests there on the bench. There's some new guys there. An absolute fan, well, no, he's not a fan favourite, let's be honest. Rob Simmons somehow still keeps himself in the Wallabies jersey. Jack Dempsey, happy to see him there with 10 tests. Will Genia, 100 tests. We were pre-show chat, you were happy to see Nick White picked ahead of Will Genia?
Me?
Yep.
Yes, I am. Because I don't think Will Genia has... probably I think he's been in decline for some while now. He always put up like 1 or 2 really good performances every season, but as a whole, I'm not convinced of him at all anymore, And we'll see if he's still going to slot in just like easy, even number 9 years when he gets to business time. But also I've seen, because look at Powell from Brumbies too. He has a much better season than Javi. And Nick White, what I have seen in Premiership, he thoroughly deserves a shot at the Wallaby jersey. I mean, he was one of the best players in the Premiership.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons he's been put in there straight away is that Cheika hasn't had much opportunity to see him. I still think Genia is going to be the first choice scrum half long term. And I think he's just been put. I think part of this is getting to know the players and seeing what the players are up to ahead of the Rugby World Cup. But we'll see. Maybe you're right. Maybe Nick White will get ahead of Will Genia in the pecking order.
No, I think it's more. Yeah, I think your point is fair. Of course, you want to see him in the environment, but I think it's also a little bit a heads up to Genia that what you've been doing lately is not good enough, and they want to see if Nick White is ready. For sure. If you're gonna bench one of your key players, you better have a replacement ready, especially this close to the World Cup. Otherwise it would be just a stupid move to do.
And then kind of a really interesting 22 and 23. Matt Tamua, he can play 10, can play 12, bit of a mixture, so covering those sort of places. And then Curtly Beale, again, another player who can play 10, 12, 15, not really a wing. You got to say, if 11, 13, 14, 15, don't get injured, because there's no replacements for you off the bench. It's a really strange one.
I'm sure Sheikha will put his faith in Curtly Beale, whatever happens. Don't worry.
What, Curtly Beale in the 11 jersey? Yeah, up on the left wing. Yeah, oh my word, no.
If it comes to that, he will.
So, good point by God Guku is. Do you think James O'Connor will play next week? Well, I'm a bit surprised he hasn't been played this week, to be honest. You've thrown Nick White in there. I'm a bit surprised they haven't thrown James O'Connor in there as well.
Or you're thinking let's give Nick White a fair chance first, and not throw everyone new in at the same time.
Very true. Very true. It's going to depend a lot on how James O'Connor is going in training. To be fair. Having listened to the Egg Chasers podcast, where those guys are based in Manchester, where James O'Connor's been playing for Sale for the past season, and they're saying, well, yeah, look, decent player for Sale, but not setting the world alight as far as international level of play. So they're a bit surprised to see him rush straight back into the squad. But again, I think it's part of Cheika seeing how players are going, who are coming back to this. So. With that weakened South African side, Springbok side, against this interesting Wallabies side, what's your prediction for the weekend?
Before I saw this selection, I was probably a lot more confident that South Africa are actually going to win it. But now when I see this Wallabies selection, it looks kind of interesting, Kind of interesting. Yeah, I'm a little bit excited to watch the Wallabies for the first time in a long time. They have been so boring to watch. I'm sorry to say, but
it's a really, it is a really interesting selection, but could lead to boring play, because with Hodge and Haley, you've got some really great kicking ability. They could play territory out and out with this lineup.
They can. I also think it's interesting that the big calls he makes in the number 9 and number 15 jerseys, which are huge positions for the attacking play. It's really where the attack starts and ends. So I think, I'm really curious about seeing this team. I hope they do well. But there are obvious weaknesses to it, but even if it's a good idea in many ways, it could still go horribly wrong for them.
So come on then. Money on the line.
I know, but I go Wallabies by 5. I stick my head out.
Wow, I've gone Springboks by 7. The games between these two sides since 2013, I think it's in my prediction article. But basically, the home side has always won for the last 10 or so games. There were 2 draws in there as well, to be honest. So these games have been close. But the home team's always won it. It's at altitude as well, so I'm going to go for South Africa. But as you say, really intriguing one, especially with these lineups that have been mentioned. So we then follow that up with the Pumas versus the All Blacks. Now, as you said pre-chat, the Pumas hasn't actually been announced yet, but we do have
not officially, but unofficially it's out.
Unbiased Rugby is boxed by 5. Unofficially, it's out. And where have I gone and put the? Where's the tweet that is out? The thing here is that Sanchez is back, isn't it?
Yeah, that's two key things. The other change is that we put Figalo back in the scrum also. So that's the two changes we're looking at doing in the starting 15. So it seems like they are very, very much doubling down on that the Jaguars just should keep going and like the two weakest positions lineup. Yeah, especially because the two places where we really out to say it was number 10. They have really handy replacements coming in for them here. So we shall see how Super Rugby performs in Test Rugby this weekend.
Yeah, so when you say changing out, what you're really saying changing out from a Jaguars point of view, not from necessarily a Pumas point of view. Here with those two players coming in. So what are your thoughts? Are they flogging the Jaguars too much? Do they actually need to rotate players? Because they played the semi-final at home. They flew across to Christchurch. They've flown back again for this game. Next week they're flying across to Australia, and then they fly back again to play the Springboks, and then they fly to South Africa to play the Springboks. I mean, these guys, 8 air miles. This is just nuts.
Yes, it is. If you're looking at they themselves have been never ever used as an excuse, and they all actually now talking about we're proud and say that they know how to handle it. It's 2 weeks since they played with Crusaders. Come on, they've been back in Buenos Aires for like 11, 12 days now. Of course, they're prepared now.
Okay, so you're not worried about the.
No.
Okay, so the unofficial 15 for them is Tetsa Creevy Figalo in that front row. Tetsa's really kind of proved himself in the. Well, what are you laughing at? My pronunciations?
Figalo.
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 Sorry.
Music.
Petty Lavanini in the engine room. Matera, Kramer, Decio, 6, 7, and 8. The Cabelli and Sanchez in that 9-10 combination. De La Fuente, Orlando in the centres. Then Moyano, Moroni, and Boffelli in the back three as well. So yeah, I would say really that is a Jaguars side plus a couple of friends. Now
Jaguars plus friends.
So
brilliant.
I am expecting the. I thought they rotated a bit more. Maybe they looked at this one going, you know what, this is our best chance ever to get a win over the All Blacks. The All Blacks have rested nearly all of their Crusaders. There's a couple of players we'll talk about when we get onto them in a second, but pretty much all their experienced Crusaders have been rested for next weekend against the Springboks. So this is a All Blacks side from the Hurricanes, Highlanders, Chiefs, and Blues. But which is still a decent side, but yeah, you've got to say without players like Reed, with Franks, Moody, there is an opportunity here for the Jaguars, for the Pumas to have their first ever win over the All Blacks. Sorry, that was an honest slip up. That's not me trying to take the mick. So
Jaguars plus friends is the new name for Puma. Jaguars.
So you're happy with this? I can see that. I expect a pretty big rotation though for the Wallabies next weekend.
Yeah, that's true. But I think you spot on what you said before too. But they are definitely thinking they have a chance to get that maiden win over All Blacks this weekend, and they're gonna go all in for it. And that's also why I think they didn't push Isa and Cordero straight into the starting lineup either. They want to keep his cohesion feeling from the Jaguars, because as much as possible, because that's one obvious advantage we have. They are a very, very settled team against a pretty much, All Blacks have a very decent looking spine, but the next yeah, the top 8 players in the All Blacks looks very, very solid, but when you go for a bench in the next 7, it's a lot of inexperience there.
So Ledesma's obviously been involved with Jaguares. Expect a very similar style of play as we've seen all season. Don't expect them suddenly to change just because we've changed coaches. As you say, with those 2 players coming in, the scrum should be much more solid than it has been all season, and their line-out's not going to be hurt by that at all. And then, it's going to be really interesting to see how Sanchez slots back in after basically just only a season out. Obviously,
a Super Rugby season, basically.
A Super Rugby season out, yes.
Yeah, because I think we can expect him to slot in very quickly. It should be a surprise otherwise. He played. I saw someone put stats up that Sanchez, the current Jaguars and Pumas play. He played 70 Super Rugby and Test matches with them in the last World Cup cycle. So I think he will do just fine.
Yep, and obviously a lot of that was under Ledesma as well through last season. So player and coach know each other really kind of well. Moving on to the All Black side, and this is a couple of interesting ones. So front row of Twangafasi, Coles, and Tuavo. I thought we would see Carl in there, but he's not been included at all because the bench has Leon Coltman, Atu Amoli, and Neopola Lualala. I must admit I didn't realise that Lualala had travelled, but he's there. Only Atu Amoli hasn't been capped, so it's still a fairly solid front row.
Yeah, but not compared to the original one, like the real All Blacks one, the Crusaders one. This is. I mean, you understand why Argentina smell a chance, because it's a big opportunity to play the All Blacks with this kind of front row. Usually we have a stronger one, both on the park and on the bench.
Brody Retallick and Patrick Tuipulotu in the engine room there. Brody Retallick, everyone knows about. Patrick Tuipulotu, a guy with physical attributes, with the game, just not with the consistency. So it's whether he turns up on Saturday, really. And then Jackson Hemapo to come off the bench to cover them. He's going to be... So yes, it's not quite Retallick, Whitelock with Barrett to come off the bench, is it?
Yeah, very fair point. We should be like smell. If you're an opposition team, that smell opportunity. And
there's definitely opportunity is that bench, to be honest. Because you're looking at so far Liam Coleman 4 caps, Atumolu none, Neopolo Ulala 17. He's the most capped player on that bench. Hemapo 3 caps. Luke Jacobson, who we're going to get onto next, not capped, has been knocking around in the Waikato club scene for the past couple of weeks. I've seen him play recently. Brad Webber 1 cap, and that 1 cap was only 16 minutes. So I mean, then Josh Ioane and Braden Ennell were not capped at all. So a sum total of 21 caps. Sorry, no, that's right. That's a lie. 25 caps on the bench. It's a really inexperienced bench, and that last 20 could be interesting.
Yeah, I think it's one of these rare cases when you actually can make a claim that Pumas have a stronger bench than the All Blacks have in this game, for sure.
Yes, that's true.
And it's very rare. And those few times when it do happens is when All Blacks usually struggle a bit too.
Yep.
Because they're gonna have both Herrera, Isa, and Cordero on the back. I mean, we already have Montoya. I mean, who has Leguizamon on. We will have have a super strong bench. Pumas gonna have this time around. That's
very true. We've still got some class on the field though. I mean, Fafita, Sam Kane, who's captaining, and Artie Surveyor in the number 8 jersey. People have been chomping at the bit to see Kane and Artie Surveyor both playing. So, and
especially against Matera too. I want to see that. I mean, that's going to be some fireworks going on between those three.
And Fafita, I mean, he's got pace to burn as well. That is a very mobile back three.
Yes, it is.
Aaron Smith, personally, I would have rested him for this one, but hey, he's there with Bowden Barrett, obviously, both Artie Surveyor and Bowden Barrett didn't travel initially up to Auckland because they were sick. So let's hope they go over their illness from a week and a half ago and are up for play. So Smith and Barrett both know each other, as you say. Talking about spine, Coles, Retallick, Artie Surveyor, Smith, Barrett, and then Ben Smith at 15. Despite
that's what my thinking is, that if you're a newcomer and can't perform around those guys, I'm sorry, you're not going to get picked for the World Cup.
With Sonny Bill Williams being injured, we have Lamapi and Anton Leonard-Brown in that 12 and 13 jersey. A lot of us wanting to see Lamapi and what he can do at this level, because we really do like him. And then some really interesting selections on the wings. We also mentioned Ben Smith at fullback, one of the best fullbacks in the world, if not the best fullback in the world, even though he is getting on a bit. Geordie Barrett on the left wing.
Yeah.
Interesting
I'm
one.
shaking my head. I don't. It's almost touch. He seems to be on a really good rapport with Shag, because he doesn't miss many opportunities to play for All Blacks, Geordie, does he?
And when he was playing for the Hurricanes in earlier season, when they had gone blank as to the fullback that they brought in, and they put Geordie on the wing instead, it didn't kind of work out. And he got moved to fullback, and then suddenly the Hurricanes clicked again, much better. So I think this is part of, in the run-up to the 2015 Rugby World Cup, we saw Colin Slade out in the wing against Scotland. I think this is part of that kind of thing, is also is Hansen wanting to see his utility backs out in the wing there, trying them out, give them experience in that kind of role, because there's a good chance Geordie Barrett is a bench option to cover those positions, isn't he?
Yeah, I think you make a good point now. Maybe that's the thinking behind it. They just want to give him as much experience as many positions as they can, because they're already banking on him to be one of the subs.
Yep. Xavier Rees, what a meteoric rise. I mean, less than a year ago, he had a contract to go and play for Connacht. That fell through, well documented as to why, and suddenly doesn't have a contract to play anywhere. Gets an injury replacement contract out down at the Crusaders, purely because Israel Dag comes back injured from Japan, and wow, now he's suddenly an All Black. It's
remarkable, huh? Damn.
Some people, when they fall in a pile of manure, come out smelling like roses. And he's to be fair to him, he's been given his opportunity, and he really has taken it with two hands. It's going to be really interesting to see him play at the weekend.
Yeah. I haven't really thought about his full career like that before you told it like this. That's almost like a poor movie, Come on, that's not real,
Don't worry, he's going to go all the way. He's going to score the winning try in overtime in the Rugby World Cup.
It's true. There's some leeway still for the movies too.
So a guy, as I say, who was didn't really know didn't have a job about 8 months ago, and now he's an All Black, signed up for another 2 years with New Zealand Rugby. So yes, congratulations to him. It's great to see someone I watched a lot as he plays for Waikato in the Mitre 10 Cup last season. So yeah, really happy for him as to how things have gone for him. We've really experienced spine with a couple of inexperienced players, a couple of interesting ones, particularly in that outside backs, and then a really, Brad Webber, Josh Ioane, Braden Arnold, those are the guys we haven't really talked about yet. 3 guys who have had really good seasons. Brad Webber pushed himself ahead of Triple T into this one, forced the All Blacks to take him when they didn't want to. Josh Ioane, obviously getting the nod because of the Richard Mo'unga made it to Crusaders for the final, so hence he's not here. Damien McKenzie's injured himself. Josh Ioane, not even first choice for the Highlanders coming into the season necessarily. That could have been Gatland and also Marty Banks. The 3 of them fighting it out. Has claimed that jersey for his own, and again has impressed. And suddenly he's third best choice, or third best fit fly half in New Zealand. Another guy who's had a great, who could not have expected to be here at the beginning of the season.
Absolutely not. But here he is. But I'm thinking that, he's probably going to play when he comes in. He's probably going to play. A fair few of his spine might be off the field then.
It's going to be really interesting to see if it's Brad Webber and him coming on together two guys
Yeah.
who.
And what do we do with Brody? Like we move it to fullback, or you?
Yeah, I mean, Bowden could get a fullback to cover for. We'd take Ben Smith off because Ben Smith had his injury worries recently, so wouldn't be surprised if that happens. So they make sure they don't play him tired.
You see, also we have Jordy Barrett in there. Maybe that's thinking behind that too.
There's a lot of people who could be moved around. That's true.
Yeah.
Braden Enor as well. Also another guy who's had two really good seasons with the Crusaders. We can see that with Ryan Crotty leaving the Crusaders, the 13 jersey is going to be his next season at the Crusaders. So another guy who's on the right trajectory. Another guy who can play 11, 13, 14, 15. So yes, another guy who very versatile off the bench there. So and a guy I'm really looking forward to going. I thought Enor would be ahead of Reese, but clearly Reese is one of those X Factor players, and someone that he hasn't come through the New Zealand age grade system. So I really think Hansen wants to see what he can do and how he reacts to the pressure.
Yeah. How do you reckon he will gonna go? You think it's success or this is too much too quick?
I think he'll be absolutely fine. The only problem he's got is that really there's no one on that pitch he's played with before. And that's
Actually, true. He's the only Crusader who's starting.
He's the only Crusader starting. Looking at this list, there's nobody on this list who would have been who was playing for Waikato last season. Sure, I think Anton Brown is a Waikato player, but he wasn't playing Mitre 10 Cup last year. He was playing. He was in the All Blacks. So there's no one here from when he was playing in the Mitre 10 Cup last season either. So he has not played with anybody on this pitch. The only player he has played with previously is Braden Enor, who's on the bench. So that's it's how quickly does he pick up the All Blacks plays, All Black structures when he has not been brought up through that system. Because being born in Fiji, sure he's come through schoolboy rugby in New Zealand, but he didn't play under 20s for New Zealand or anything like that. I don't believe. So it's going to be interesting to see how that. How that all sort of pans out.
Mm-hmm.
But he's taken everything else in his stride. So go on then. What's your prediction then, Pierce? Malakola has got $20 on the All Blacks and the Springboks double. Has he gone the right way? Obviously, he's not gone the right way yet because you reckon that Wallabies will win the first one. Is he going to lose it on both, or is he just going to lose it on one?
Oh yeah, he's going to lose all his money. No. You always take the brave man to tip against the All Blacks, but I gotta stick up my head and say Pumas by 3 points. They're gonna get Remain and win.
I've got All Blacks by 7. Looking at their past results, the All Blacks always win by double points against the Pumas. I think this one's going to be a little bit closer, and hence I'm going the All Blacks by 7. I think they'll keep it within a score. But yeah, 2 cracking games, 2 really interesting games because there is a first choice Pumas side that is facing against an All Black side that's resting a few players because of that final. And the other one, as we've said, already gone through those really interesting selections, really interesting games. So you're looking forward to the 2 games this weekend, and they're both in time zones good for you because you're now in Europe.
Yeah, finally I'm going to be able to watch rugby like in a good evening times. Perfect. I think because South Africa kicks off 5 o'clock here and the Pumas game 9 o'clock. I mean, come on, that's perfect Saturday.
Perfect for you. For me, they're stupid time in the morning, and hence also I'm going to be catching some club rugby this weekend. I'm off to Taurua for their last home game of the season. We're in finals time, or for most of the provinces here in New Zealand, and this is their final home game. So I'm going to go down there, watch their final home game, and join the club for the post-match celebration. So I will not be watching these games live because I will not be in a sober state to remember to report on them. So, but sometime Sunday I will catch up on these games and do post-match reactions. So really looking forward to it. Do feel free to tweet me results. I don't mind knowing the result before watching a game. So don't, just because I'm not watching them live, don't worry about spoilers. I'm happy with those.
That's a real purist talking, a real rugby purist.
So
I don't care about the result. I'm just watching the technical aspect.
No, I'm watching it to enjoy, but I don't mind knowing the results. So, absolutely enjoy the games this weekend, Herman. Thank you, everyone who's been in the live chat joining us. Do enjoy the games too. Don't forget to subscribe and all that kind of wonderful stuff. So you get those post-match reactions, and also you can click on www.patreon.com/DrivingMaul so that you can then support the channel. And thank you very much, and have a good night.